Information to help you run your business better and improve your marketing campaigns. My name is Hank Hoffmeyer, and thank you for joining me on Hank's Marketing and Business Tips. Welcome to episode 296 of the HMBT podcast. Today I'm joined by Dan Nottingham. He is the founder and CEO of Plan C, which is the driving force behind Am I Credible?, which is an AI platform that flags and analyzes misinformation on social media in real time. He's a trusted voice in tech and entrepreneurship. Dan shares insights on credibility, trust building, and the power of AI to help individuals and organizations navigate today's digital landscape. That was a mouthful, but Dan, I appreciate you being here because a lot of times I always use the words or the letters KLT, which means know, like, and trust. And people do business with and form relationships with people that they know, like, and trust. Credibility fits in there. And I think that's the theme today. So thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Hank.
So let's talk about that. When we're talking about the word credibility, and when people find people on social media, either if they're going to laugh at memes, right? Because there's like cat, dog videos. I don't know if anybody's ever saw Merv the cat on TikTok. If you haven't, you have to check that out. Or you're going to find information about maybe looking to buy something. That's why influencers have a big market share. Or you're looking to get a platform for your business and you want to look at reviews or maybe how-tos, go on YouTube and look at how do I use these, chat GPT, agent builders now, all these different things. How do you define credibility, Dan, in a world where true information can be presented in misleading ways?
That's very well put. Because, just simply doing fact checking isn't good enough. You also have to be able to put in the context. How am I using these facts? And when you combine the two, the context and the facts together, then there's a way that you can define whether or not this is a credible statement. Or it can be more than just a statement. It could be an article or even a whole set of content that a company's putting out. So it's really about combining all the information in one piece of content and being able to measure whether or not that is both factual and the content of how or context in which you're delivering that information is reasonable. Does it make sense? Is it verifiable? And so that's what Am I Credible is all about, is being able to determine the credibility of a statement, not necessarily if it's just true or false.
Right. And I think it works on both sides. If I'm consuming content and I want to know it's factual, there's ways to do that. But also when you're using AI tools, you're creating content with help and you may or may not know if number one, if it's credible, correct, or a hallucination. Tell me a little bit about why you feel it's important to make sure all these facts are correct. How many, or do you have stats on like how many people actually do double check on certain things? In other words, if I put a fact figure or a statement out, a press release, are there people that actually will look at it and maybe do some homework on it?
So my understanding at this point is that most people just put things out there, that they're not being very diligent these days of validating. They might be doing some fact checking, but actually going through and making sure that this is a credible statement or content is not that well tracked. And so that was kind of the gap, the opportunity that we saw. But the real motivation for doing this in the first place was simply hearing over and over again people saying, I just don't know what to trust anymore. You look at trust in mainstream media is at an all-time low, and you hear things about expertise being casually dismissed in favor of some belief-driven or opinion-driven belief. And that creates a void of information where misinformation can thrive. And it's in that world where I became very frustrated with how it shouldn't be that way, because my background is originally way back. My background is in physics and astronomy. So I've always been a scientist at heart. And so I believe there's such a thing as objective reality and shared facts. And it just seems that when people are just spewing things out about their opinions, on social media, we start losing track of objective reality. And when you move that into business, uh, that's also important because as you may have noticed in business, uh, if you start saying things that aren't credible, people don't trust you, and people like to buy things from organizations and individuals that they trust. So there's lots of opportunity to give an easy way, very convenient one-click way of being able to validate the credibility of content.
And I like to throw the word, and I love that the objective reality. I love that because I like to use another term called AI slop, which is being generated. And you might have these things like, "Did you know that?" And they might talk about Civil War or the American Revolution or something, and tell a story, but it was created by AI and it could have hallucinated and give the wrong facts and information. But the graphics are so good because they're using AI to just spit out the voice to text or to text to voice, right? And then put images to it that people are going to believe everything they're seeing out there. Now, for those accounts, those are fly by night. They're just looking for views and engagement so they can get a check on TikTok or Instagram. And then, they don't care if they're credible or not. But if you're a business person, a thought leader, or you're just trying to grow or even start your career, it's very important to be credible. And you're talking about how Am I Credible does that. So what'll happen, I guess, is I might find a company I want to work for and let me know if this is true. And I want to make sure all the things that they're saying about their company and organization is correct and credible. Is that something your platform does?
Well, it takes it one piece of content at a time. So you can't say, hey, go follow this company and figure out all out. It doesn't do that currently. Um, the idea is that if you were going to post something, you're planning to publish something. And before you if you're a business, let's say, before you publish something, you undoubtedly pass it through some type of spell checker, for example. And you wouldn't dream of sending something out that hasn't at least gone through that, right? So the idea is maybe another KPI would be to pass it through a credibility checker. And a simple example might be your content might be promoting online banking, and say, hey, it's important to maybe promote online banking to make it more convenient for your customers. But if you happen to throw in while promoting online banking, you put in, yeah, and there's no downside to it. Just come join us and let's do it. Well, I actually put a statement like that through Am I Credible? And it came back saying that my content was only a 3 out of 10 as far as being credible. And then the analysis explained everything was fine until you mentioned with no downside and started to list the different downsides that you might have in online banking, like fraud and access issues and so forth. So then I removed that from the content, and suddenly my statement or the content I was trying to create to publish went up to a 9 out of 10. And so you might think that's rather subtle, but people can tell when you're trying to bluff them or you're trying to put one over on them. And this is one way to detect it before it gets published. So it's a way of addressing misinformation before it even gets out there and embarrasses you.
Would it work with video scripts as well?
We're working on that.
Okay.
Video is a bit harder. And we've actually spent the last year getting the AI to work well on statements. When I first started this a year ago, uh, I naively thought that there's not a lot of work to do here. I send this to a couple of a long large language models, and it'll I prompt it correctly, and it'll come back with the results I want. It doesn't work that way, and many startups and investors think that it does. It actually takes a great deal of work and effort to make sure that you're coming back with reasonable, authoritative results from good sources, that you're not introducing a worldview or bias, and getting it to come back accurately without hallucinating takes real effort.
Mhm.
And that's the kind of work that we put into Am I Credible? And we've got it working very well with statements and with some images. We're planning and down the roadmap to start including video, like you suggested, because so much is on video these days. It'd be good to be able to check that as well.
Well, as soon as you launch that, let me know because I want to see how credible I am, and maybe I need to make some changes.
Well, I'll got to tell you, just looking at my own statements, I use it every day. And I my opinions on different things have changed from what I've learned by using it. And I've been educated about wide on a wide variety of different topics because I use it a lot. It's been fun. And it does not have my worldview in it at all. It's just whatever the objective reality is it seems to come back with.
Right. So it's like a personalized AI PR person, which, PR is kind of like not really around much anymore and people don't think it's important, but that's what I feel like it's like. Hey, I want to get this out in the world. I want to update my About Us page and I want to have all this stuff in here. Will it sound credible if I put it on there just like this, right? You just wrote something with the help of ChatGPT or something.
Yeah.
That's an important thing to do is have it run through a lens of hey, you think this is great, like us marketers, right? I'm a marketer. I always think everything I create is great and everybody wants to see and hear it, but that's not always true. And you want to make sure that whoever's reading, perceiving, and trying to translate all that into their life and what's going on with them at that moment, it's important to have it run through something that's going to make you sound more trustworthy so they can decide if they want to do business with you, stay on your website, whatever that is. I think the tool you have is pretty sounds pretty powerful.
Well, we're very excited about it. And you know, that's one thing for the founder to say, I think this is working really well. But the best way to judge it is to just try it yourself. You might be surprised at how well it works and the analysis that comes back. You might learn something. So I just challenge people to give it a try and don't just dismiss it out of hand. And you brought up a really good point about, hey, I just put something on ChatGPT, came back with something. I'm going to assume that's right. That's why we use multiple large language models and a number of different techniques to try to check each other before it even comes up with a single analysis at the end. And all of those things drive that credibility score.
You got the AI tools doing each other's homework and checking grades.
It's actually, yeah, it's a way to average out the errors that can come up with any individual large language model.
And you mentioned it, how you found it's changed your thinking around content and how you're delivering it or creating it, whatever word you want to say here. What else did you learn along the way, within the time frame that you have built this tool? Is there any other types of either content or messaging tips, tricks, or information that you'd like to share?
Well, just my personal use of it. It's yes, we use it for business to make sure that we're not, saying things that are just not credible. But just in my personal interactions with friends, being able to, you know, sitting around talking about different things, be able to say, "Oh, wait a minute, look, that doesn't sound right. Let me check." And it turned out uh, to be fun. I didn't expect it to be, "Hey, put this in and see what it says." Just that experimental sort of thing. And I've noticed with a group of friends that I have, we just have a lot of fun just posing different questions to it. And it's not necessarily about putting things online or managing content, just that experience of just learning something along with the group. And I didn't know that. And we were checking James Bond movies and stuff like that, just fun things. And I did not expect that when we started out. I thought it was going to be used a little differently.
Right. Like maybe like kids using it to put in excuses as to why they didn't come home or something like that. And say, they're lying about staying at a friend's house. Do they sound credible?
It's not going to help them do that.
There's a business idea for somebody else, though.
True.
Oh man, this is great. Yeah, because I think it's a very important to definitely have content that resonates with people, especially in this day and age with so much content coming from AI tools, and then also people just not having time or not having the tech skills or information to update websites or anything, and putting blogs out there that are sparse and not really full of information. Even if you don't have a lot of skills and you're putting something out there, you at least need to make sure that it's going to be credible, like you said. Especially if like you're getting into marketing and you want to be a marketing thought leader. I think if you're going to write like a blog post and cite sources and talk about how, hey, I think it's important to do something. It's important to know if it's going to be credible. I actually posted this morning around there. There's a myth of you should not send emails like broadcast emails that are all image emails because it'll get flagged as spam. But that's not necessarily the case. If you have a really good sender reputation, like if you're a big brand and you always send emails and you are credible, like Macy's or Sephora, they can get away with doing that because they have the engagement. But if you're a smaller brand and not sending a lot of emails, or you're just getting started, yeah, having all image emails and no text in there at all will get flagged as spam. But yeah, like I said, I think it's just comes from knowledge. Like if I was to say that, would I sound credible? And I can't wait till you come out with the version that does the video scripts because I might try it out.
Stand by. That that's part of the message that I want to convey, that we were launched just a month ago. And we have a real dedicated team of people working on this in the background that share the vision of, let's try to bring us back to more civil online conversations where that they're more fact based or credibility based, where you can start to rebuild some trust that we've lost. And we see that as our mission. And so it's not just, hey, we released a month ago and we're done. We're continuing to add more capabilities. For example, in a few months, we'll have the mobile applications will be available. Right now, we're just browser based. We're always improving the quality of the analysis and the error rate of, when you're working with an evolving technology in AI. And so as things are changing, we're going to keep up with that pace. And every day we learn something different. So it's an exciting, dynamic environment to be in. So it's not just a static thing that's just going to sit there, try it out, and we're done. So I see a very exciting journey ahead of us, and really trying to stay ahead of this tidal wave of misinformation and giving people a tool to help them, push back against that wave.
In email marketing, there's a lot of KPIs: open rates, click rates, spam complaint rates, unsubscribe rates. Is there measurable KPI for credibility?
Yeah, so the way we see this is, if you were to use it regularly, as say you're an organization and you're generating content, and just like the spell check example, every time we create some collateral or content, we'll run it through Am I Credible? And we'll get a score. And that credibility score, I can say to myself, gee, I'm not going to post this until it's above a certain threshold that we'll decide as an organization. You can then aggregate the scores you get for all of the content that you created to create a credibility score for your organization. And I believe what you'll see is, over time, as your credibility scores for your organization go up, since there's already evidence that people buy from people and organizations that they trust, there should be a correlation between the two. And if you're finding your sales are slow, maybe if you were able to start looking at your credibility scores, and maybe you're not producing collateral that's credible, maybe there's a relationship there. So it's
Right.
just something to track and keep an eye on. You could also market yourself as being a more trustworthy organization and look at our score from Am I Credible that says we're an 8 out of 10 a credibility organization. That's really the vision, to get to the point where businesses are saying, my credibility score from Am I Credible puts me in a class where you can not only trust me because I tell you to, here's a third party that's verifying that I'm saying credible things.
I think that's important. I tell marketers a lot, especially with email marketing, is you need to look at your benchmarks and go from there and see if your open rates steadily increasing. It may go up and down a little bit, but over time is increasing, like you said. Maybe if you start using Am I Credible, you started at 3 or 4, and then over time you get to that 8 or 9. And like you said, did that cause any of the other metrics, whether it's website visits, social media following, email subscriptions, email open rates, click rates, did they kind of rise with that number as well. You might not directly be able to correlate that, but you could say, hey, I've been putting out more credible content, therefore we're getting more XYZ. And I think it could be like you just have a sheet with, your email performance, website performance, your SEO performance, social media performance, and then just tap at the top your credibility score going across over time, based on whether it's monthly, weekly, however often you do marketing. I think that would be a good addition to a marketing dashboard.
I agree. And even if you're just starting out and you say that you're even using a credibility tool that says, I care about facts and being credible, that says something about your organization just right there.
Yeah.
That you're looking, you're checking, you're tracking it.
What would you say are the top industries that would definitely benefit from this tool?
Journalism comes straight to mind. Independent journalists, news organizations. It's so easy to just put in that one little thing that's an opinion piece that's buried in your content that actually distorts your credibility as a journalist. So being able to have a third party check that for you. Now, it's important to note we're not telling you what you should say or what you should publish. We're just a check on that. You can still decide, you're still in charge. It's just a way to validate your content against a third party.
Would you get any information and feedback on certain areas, like why maybe it was like a 7 instead of a 9? Not really.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So there's a whole analysis section. You can get the score right up on top, and it might say, it gives it a classification and a score. So it might say misleading, 3 out of 10. And then the analysis is a couple of paragraphs
Okay.
that explains why it got that rating. And then one other piece for full transparency, we list the sources that it used for that analysis. And we've gone to great lengths to make sure that we're including multiple viewpoints. So we're trying to avoid bias. And I was looking at something recently where I was checking some content and it cited both Fox News and MSNBC in the same analysis. So I've said, okay, I think we're doing a good job here of getting cross views.
Right. Yeah, that's great. I like how you get the summary. There's definitely the score, and like you said, hopefully it'll make people improve over time. Uh, let's talk about how to find you, use the tool, and connect with you if they have any questions.
Certainly. So you can find us at amicredible.ai. And once you're there, there's a couple of options. It's very easy to set up an account and start using, but you can do this as a guest. You don't even have to enter an email address. Just go in, use it, check it out, try a few things, see if you like it. Uh, Once you're in, if you like what you see, there's also a way for more advanced features through the Pro version. And in the Pro version, you'll see things like leaderboards where you can challenge your friends on credibility and you can rank up and get badges for different behaviors, just all kinds of gamification, make it a little more fun for just casual users. But there's if you're a business and you want to contact us further down on the page, there's a place where you can enter a form to tell me a little bit about yourself, and it goes straight to me. And I can reach out to these businesses that might want to integrate with us. Because so far, all we've talked about is this ability to go in and use it directly, but it was based, the whole thing's driven by an API. So I'll API first. So we're designed to integrate with other organizations' systems. So it becomes very natural to use it rather than leaving and coming back.
Well, that's awesome.
So if anybody wants to do that, you go to that part in the page and send me a note and we'll talk about next steps.
Is there a note section in there where they can put in freeform?
Yes.
Yeah, make sure to mention the HMBT podcast so Dan knows that you came from the show. He'd appreciate that. And then also, while you're developing that credible material, you need to get that out there in the world. No better way than sending an email. But before you do, you have to make sure your email addresses are valid. Make sure you're using Kickbox, who sponsors the show. I'll give you 5,000 free credits if you use the keyword HMBT at kickbox.com. I appreciate their support, even though I work for them. But yeah, they're always trying to do good things with email marketing. And Dan, I appreciate you being on the show. And I love how you're going to help us become more credible.
Thank you, Hank. This was fun.
Have a great day, everybody.